What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I haven't recorded YouTube videos for my personal channel in a while. In fact, the last episodes I recorded were in 2020 when I was recording the How to Learn series. So if you're a subscriber, you've probably been following along to that series, and then I suddenly stopped, and that's because I was just going through a lot physically, emotionally, mentally. I just didn't have, honestly, the bandwidth to continue to record YouTube videos, so I just paused and took a break so I could focus on me. 5 years later, obviously a lot has happened. I have 2 kids. I have a third on the way. We started a fertility company. Today, I just want to kind of reintroduce myself, kind of talk about the next series that I'm going to create, or the first series that I'm going to create for you guys. It's going to be a series on pregnancy. So I know a lot of women have questions when it comes to pregnancy, whether you're trying to conceive right away or in the future. It's something that you think about as a woman. You're like, I wonder what this is like when you're pregnant, or I wonder what this is like when you're pregnant. It's hard to get those answers until you lived it. So I want to share my lived experience, having gone through 2 pregnancies now and the third one, so that women who are thinking about getting pregnant can just understand kind of what it's like on the other end. Let's just get started. Yeah, so this is my third pregnancy, and I would say it's somewhat similar to my previous 2, and then somewhat different as well in certain ways. And one thing that's definitely true for sure is when you're pregnant with your second or your third, because you already have 1 child or 2 children, you just become a lot less obsessive over the pregnancy and every detail of it. You kind of just almost forget about it. You know you're pregnant, obviously, but it doesn't become something that you think about 24/7 because you're so busy tending to your other kids, and they just keep you on your feet all day long. And so you're not like obsessing over every detail. Like in my first pregnancy, I remembered exactly what week, what day I was. I remembered every stage of the baby, what's happening in every week with the development. I would keep track of all that, and just like I was a lot more focused on just learning about pregnancy and what's happening in my body. And that's natural. That's what you should be doing in the first pregnancy. But with the second and third, you kind of know what to expect, so you do less and less of that, and you only start doing research when new questions pop up in your head. You know, I'll talk about that later in the episode. But that's been like the big kind of difference here, is that compared to my first pregnancy, the second and third, you're just a lot less obsessive about it. So in terms of emotionally how I'm feeling, I think one of the biggest things that's popping up this pregnancy that's different is, I'm thinking a lot about, now that I have 2 kids, a third on the way, how do I give attention to all of them? And they're still so little. So my oldest is 3, my younger one is 1, and she's maybe about to be 1.5. We have a newborn on the way in 3-ish months. Things that are going through my head are like, how do I split my time amongst them 3? Because they all need attention. They need mommy time. And so it's like, how do I prioritize everything else and get everything else done so that I can focus on giving them and meeting their needs? So that's something that's been on my mind a lot. And in terms of physically, like the first trimester this time was a little bit different for sure than the previous 2 pregnancies. So with my first, I barely felt any nausea. I felt it like a few mornings here and there. Like it would kick in the morning and then it would disappear about like 10 o'clock, and I was fine all day. I didn't have major food aversions at all. But the second one, it was kind of similar. I did feel a little bit more fatigued with the second baby, probably because I had a second baby. I conceived with that baby 1 year after my first was born, so my body was probably somewhat in a more depleted state. But I didn't feel like too much nausea. It wasn't like noticeable where I was like, oh my God, like this nausea is like killing me. And then this pregnancy, I was definitely nauseous for the first trimester. So it kicked in early. Like it kicked in by like week 5. I was nauseous. I was like, whoa, like it just like took me by surprise because I've never experienced that level of nausea. I thought, okay, in the morning, maybe it'll come in and it'll just kind of go away. But it was like this all day, like on and off thing for like weeks. So week 5, week 6, week 7, and even part of week 8, I felt like horrible nausea. I wasn't throwing up though, so I was still able to keep food down, which is great. So I was able to eat like very basic foods like bread and crackers and nut butters. Like I had a lot of food aversions. And then like suddenly it disappeared for a week, around like week 8 or 9. And I was like, what's going on? Is something wrong? And then things turned out fine. And then it kicked back in really hard at the end of week 9. And it stayed through about week 11. And then after that, it kind of went away, just faded away. That's one thing that I definitely noticed was different with this pregnancy, is that I was more nauseous. It was only in the first trimester, which is normal, and your body's working extremely overtime in that first trimester because so much of the critical development happens in that first trimester. Even though you're not showing it externally yet, there's just so much happening on the cellular genetic level, and that's why you're just so fatigued, because your body's just like constantly working to basically manufacture this baby. And so it's normal to feel incredible fatigue, and nausea is also normal. Nausea is also a very protective mechanism by the body because your body's trying to protect yourself from toxin exposure. If you're nauseous to things like meats and eggs and fish, it's because it doesn't want to take any risk, getting any kind of pathogen from these foods. So it's like, I don't have the resources to fight anything right now. Just give me the very basic, simple foods, and that's enough. So nausea is a way, almost like a protection mechanism. Second trimester, after like week 11, I started feeling good. I felt like back to my normal self again. I had energy. I was able to dance normally and lift normally again. It felt good, and I didn't feel heavy because I wasn't showing that much yet. So from like week 11 through about week 22, 24 was like, I had really good energy and felt good. And then the last about like 3-4 weeks, I could definitely start to feel the heaviness in my body as I'm at the tail end of my second trimester, entering my third trimester. I definitely feel heavy. You just feel the weight, because when you're pregnant, your blood volume increases like by 40 to 50%. So you're carrying all this like extra fluid with you, and you can feel it. So that's definitely how I'm feeling right now, heavy. But other than that, I think I feel generally good. The other thing people often ask about is like what I'm eating in a day during pregnancy, and that changes from trimester to trimester. So in the first trimester, I found myself, like I said, because I've had the nausea, I was eating more simple foods. So I couldn't fathom eating a piece of steak. That just made me want to throw up. Fish I was fine with, sushi and all that. I actually ate it and I felt totally fine. But for some reason, beef, even chicken, I just didn't want to have. So first trimester was just about survival. It's what can I eat to get energy and survive? So I was surviving on lots of fruits, bread, juices, things that are, again, very easy to digest. Lots of dairy, yogurts, cottage cheese, pancakes were just sounded amazing every day. I was making pancakes 4 times a week, giving my body as much fuel as I can in the simplest form, easy to digest form. And then as the nausea passed away in the second trimester, I was still eating more carb heavy because this is a summer pregnancy. And then we came to Austin right around when I was getting to that second trimester, and it was hot in Austin in June, July, August. So that was my second trimester, and June I think I was still in my first trimester. July and August I was in my second trimester, but it was very hot. I was prioritizing eating a lot of carbs because that's what my body needed. I was sweating a lot each day. I was active. I was going for walks. I was still physically doing everything I normally do. So I found myself this pregnancy eating a lot more carbohydrates than I did in previous pregnancies, which were more winter pregnancies. So that was another interesting thing. And that didn't affect my blood sugar or anything. My A1C looked good last time I tested. So it just seemed like my body was absorbing all that glucose, even though I was having a ton of it. So I survived on fruit juices, lots of fruit, simple carbs. And I would still have protein. I would still prioritize protein, but easy to digest proteins because I didn't want anything heavy when I'm in this heat. And then same thing in the third trimester, now that I'm slowly entering my third trimester, as my belly gets bigger, I just don't want to eat heavy things anymore because I try, if I try to eat a piece of steak that's 6 ounces, 7 ounces, 8 ounces, which I can easily eat when I'm normal postpartum. If I did that now, I would just feel it just sat there in my stomach for 4 hours, and it's just not a good feeling. And then I'll have mostly other lighter foods, lots of yogurt, lots of cottage cheese, lots of simple things cottage cheese pancakes and breads and jams and lots of fruit still because it's still warm. So that's kind of how it's going with my eating. I'll get more detail into exactly the foods I'm eating, what nutrition I'm focused on in the nutrition episode in the future of this series. But for now, that's kind of the high level thing. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about was exercise. I typically don't significantly alter my exercise regime when I'm pregnant. Again, I'll get into this in a lot more detail with scientific studies and all of that in a future episode. But there's a lot of literature, recent literature, to show that exercise is safe during pregnancy. You can do most things, especially if you were doing them pre-pregnancy. I wouldn't introduce new very intense stuff. Like, I'm not gonna go out, try to do like karate or something when like I'm pregnant. It doesn't make any sense, right? Like, if you were doing something before pregnancy and your body is accustomed to it, you know how to do it properly, you have proper technique, it is fine to continue that throughout pregnancy. You're gonna find yourself naturally wanting to modify things. Like, for example, with dance, I'm just not as agile when I'm pregnant because I'm carrying a belly and I weigh more. I'm not able to jump as much. My feet also feel kind of heavy because of all that blood volume. My footwork struggles a little bit, but then I get to focus on like my handwork and my expressions and all that. So I take what I can get and I still practice. As long as you know kind of what you're doing on the floor, you're comfortable in your own body, you can exercise and you'll be fine. Again, I'll get into this in a future episode, but my regimen, like I said, looks pretty similar to my pre-pregnancy regimen. I dance about 4 times a week, sometimes 5 if I'm not busy. And then I do yoga about 3 times a week for like 20 to 30 minutes just to keep my muscles lengthened and stretched, because I find that's super important for dance. And then I do lift 2 or 3 times a week, and then I'll do like 1 bar workout a week. Again, I find that really helps with my dance. Like, it's a ballet bar inspired workout, which I just love doing. It helps with my footwork and just overall lengthening my body. So that's kind of my regimen now. And of course, I still go for walks. Walks are really, really good for you when you're pregnant. Even if you don't have the energy to exercise, go for walks when you're pregnant, because it can make a huge difference. So I kind of am talking a lot. So I talked about kind of what I'm eating, exercising, how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about. One last thing I want to talk about is complications. So obviously every pregnancy is different and many women struggle with complications. While I don't have major complications, there's 2 minor ones that I will talk about, which is, one is varicose veins. Varicose veins are where you have veins on your lower legs, or it could be on other parts of the body too, that like bulge out of your skin because blood is pooling in those veins and it's not circulating back up to the heart. So varicose veins are common in pregnancy. It's considered normal in pregnancy. It's not ideal. Also, my parents had varicose veins, have varicose veins. There's a genetic component to it too. So I do have varicose veins. I didn't have it with my first, but with my second, I did have it, and they got worse as I got more and more pregnant. And then with my third, they almost started showing up like by week 7, which was interesting. It was like my body's like, oh, you're pregnant again. Here comes the blood flow issues. Like, I don't know. It was interesting. But varicose veins, I mean, the reason they happen when you're pregnant is for 3 reasons. One is, when you're pregnant, you make 40 to 50% more blood. So your blood volume is like a lot. You're carrying a lot of fluid in your body. Your veins are just going to be struggling to pump all that blood up and down your body. So your blood will start to pool in the lower extremities, and that's what causes varicose veins, where the veins are bulging because the blood is not circulating properly because of all this blood volume that you have in the body. The second reason is because when you're pregnant, your progesterone levels go up a ton. In the follicular phase, for example, they're like less than 1 usually, and then in your luteal phase, they can be anywhere between like 10 to 30. When you're pregnant, they go all the way up to like 200 by the end of pregnancy. This is because progesterone helps to relax the muscles, relax the body, but this also relaxes the veins. And so your veins just become more soft and less efficient at pumping blood. So the blood starts to pool in your lower legs. The third reason why varicose veins happen is because the uterus is growing each week with the baby, and that's putting pressure on the vena cava, which is a vein that helps bring blood back to the heart. And so when the uterus is growing, it's putting pressure on that vein, the blood is having a harder time flowing back up, so it pools in your lower legs. So that's why it's considered normal and common in pregnancy to have varicose veins. Not everyone has it, not everyone's has it to the same intensity, but I know that a lot of moms do have it. And I'm actively doing research now to figure out how we can prevent it or minimize it as women, because it's just not something that you want to have long term, because varicose veins will show up later in life and they'll cause trouble later in life, and you just don't want to deal with it. The other minor complication that I've had is low iron. Again, another common thing in pregnancy, the baby and placenta use a lot of iron. Makes sense, right? So it's gonna steal so much iron from the mother. My ferritin and iron levels were fine prior to pregnancy, but like they just have gotten very low. Now that I'm in the end of second trimester, early third trimester, like very low. I still have good energy, so that's been okay. My midwife suggested a high dose iron supplement, which I started a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's helping a little bit, but we're gonna monitor, and if it doesn't improve, if my ferritin levels are still in the gutter, then I'm going to do an IV therapy where I do intravenous iron just to get my body levels, iron levels up again. I'm not like putting myself at risk of very, very low iron, which can have other complications in the future. So those are the two minor complications I've had, and I'll keep you guys posted on how I overcome them, improve them, etc. in the episodes that are coming. That kind of concludes what I want to talk about in this episode. I just wanted to give a general update on what's happening in my life right now, my pregnancy, so that we can kickstart this pregnancy series. And I'm super excited for future episodes. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things. Like I get questions like, what food should I eat? What food should I not eat? How much should I eat? Do I need to eat for two? What supplements should I take? What supplements should I not take? Like that's a very common question. Exercise. What exercises are safe and what are unsafe? What are dangerous? Like, is it dangerous to go running or whatever? Like, there's so many questions that people have, and this series is going to be debunking and explaining and sharing my knowledge I gained over the last 3 to 4 years having been pregnant, and I'm super excited. So thank you for joining me, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be back with another episode, and I hope to see you there.